Obviously, we got a little shift in going into conference play now this week. It'll be just different playing one of the best teams in the country. They have athletes across the board at every position, top-ranked, 4 or 5-star players, very, very talented football team. So for our guys, great challenge. Expect a great home crowd, home field advantage as you hope to get usually in SEC games, and should be a great environment, exciting time. So we're fired up, ready to go play. I've got a lot of practice work to do in front of us, but we'll be ready to play Saturday.
Coach, obviously you guys saw a lot in Kylan Hill when you were recruiting him, but how has he kind of changed his game, so to speak, and been able to adjust to the college level compared to what he was in high school?
Well, I think he's just learning a lot with the blocking schemes. Obviously, he was well coached in high school, but a little bit different. He was kind of the feature. They were going to make sure he got the ball a whole bunch. Now he's got to be an all-around player. And so the great thing for a young guy, I think he understands that. I mean, he figured it out pretty early that if he miss pass protection, you're gonna get taken out. You're gonna lose your reps. And so I think that message that got sent to him early helped him learn to mature about having to work to be an all-around player.
I think he's only the second true freshman running back that you played. I think Shumpert was the other one.
Okay.
What was it that you just saw in him that allowed him to accelerate his game to play so early?
I don't. One, I think he's got a lot of talent. But two, he handled the situation well and came in and competed and earned the right to get on the field. And a lot of that, and it just goes to the depth and where we're at. From year to year. I think Vic Ballard played right away. He never redshirted for us. And Ladarius Perkins came in with 3 senior tailbacks in front of him. Wasn't going to play a whole lot. So I don't know if it's just him but a lot of the playing has to do not just with yourself, which he's done a great job of preparing himself, but other people.
Coach, the Matt Canada offense at LSU, have you seen a lot of differences? Because it appears they're still really a power running team. What have you seen from them?
Well, yeah. They he's built on running the football. And obviously they got some fantastic running backs. They got a good offensive line, but they are, it starts with the run game for them, the ability to run. And, they're going to do a great job scheming you of motions, shifts, unbalanced, movements, trades, all of those things to try to gain the numbers advantage to be able to run the football. And, and that's what's set. And then they set up the pass game off the run.
I know you said Saturday that you guys might do some checking on appeal for Dantzler and his suspension things. Did you guys get to do that? Will Cam get to play?
I don't think you
first half?
can. So there's no appeal that can be done. I mean, the officials made their call, and that was their call.
Is there an update on Darrell Williams and his shoulder?
Yeah. He could have gone back in the game Saturday with our trainers, and he was sore, like I said, during the week, but. Our trainers cleared him to go back in the game Saturday, and at that point we were playing well and just decided to let him get healthier.
Yeah, and what did you think of Michael's story? How did he look on film afterward?
Yeah, I thought did well. I thought our offensive line as a whole played pretty solid during the game, and part of it is there's some good things. First 2 games we've been able to get some guys in there. Like I said, fortunately, if we can try to stay healthy and we can control the rotation on the offensive line, I think that'll really help those guys grow throughout the year.
Hey, Dan, have you guys made a decision yet on Malik Derry?
No. I know he really wants to play this week. He's on the edge this week, so talking to the trainers, he might practice some and have a limited role in this game this week for us, and just see how he does. It's up in the air. He hasn't gone full practice yet, but he might practice this week. Was that your follow-up? Has he practiced yet? There we go. I saw you leaning out. I figured I'd get that in before.
Everybody,
saw the spectacular things Simmons did in the game on
Yeah.
Saturday. You know, blocking the punt, you know, the touchdowns, all that stuff. You know, play to play, you know, 40, 50 snaps a game. Is he where you want to be, and what makes him kind of dominant in the middle of the defense?
You know what, he's really getting there, and that's what I'm excited about. You know, I mean, this being a second-year player, had success last year. You know, had some success. Got an accolade or two last year, but you know, I've really seen him take up the game into trying to be a much better fundamental player every single snap instead of, you know, obviously he's a gifted athlete. You can see that with some of the special plays that he makes, but he's really worked hard in understanding the fundamentals of the game and being where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there, how he's supposed to be there, and do every little detail properly.
Coach, Nick began the game 2 for 8 and then ends the game 10 for his next 10.
Good.
What'd you guys do to kind of get him in a rhythm there?
I don't know. I told him my great coaching motivation on the sidelines is a pretty pathetic first quarter right there, wasn't it? I'm like, that was awful. I mean, you know, but when you have a guy that's played a little bit and you look, I'm like, you know, you coach through some of the things. You know what I mean? Comes off and you know, throws the interception. Well, you're coaching through that play. You know, then we completed a couple passes here and there, and then you look and say, boy, you know, it wasn't very good. But at that point, he's kind of a little bit more relaxed, and he'll laugh it off and, you know, be like, yeah, it wasn't very good at all. But it keeps him calm and understanding what's going on. So, you know, I mean, you manage the personality at the right time, and then make sure you're coaching at the right time, just to keep his head screwed on straight. And you got the things you need to teach, and then motivationally and you know, confidence-wise, you got to build that up different ways. And you know, there's not one perfect way to do it, but you're always trying to build confidence in those guys. And part of it can be laughing off how bad you did, you know, to start the game off, and because at that point he knows. You know, so he knows. So I learned that as a young coach, you know, how to you try to deal with those guys and make sure you're constructively building them up.
Coach, obviously with Gary playing more outside this year, just talk about that move for him and the way he's been more productive this year with that move.
Well, I think it is. You know, if you look at his body type, it really fits his body type well. You know, he's got length, he's got size, he's got some athleticism, and you know, and does make him tough because he's got the size and instincts, being an outside backer, the physicality to be able to hang in there on the run, but the athleticism to you know, to disrupt the pass game some is a big help. And so it's you know, I'm happy for him because you see him playing at a much higher level now.
You made the move on the extra points to go with Chrisman. How do you feel about him? And was it with Day? Was it just a low trajectory, or?
Yeah, I mean, as I talked to Tucker, I said, hey, you know, I mean, we got to score the points in the game. And you know, my whole deal to Tucker is, you know, you saw him. He came back in and kicked the ball right out of the end zone. I said, I need to see the Tucker I see at practice consistently in games, you know, but and the confidence that he has in practice, and even when he was competing in practice and put him in pressure situations in practice, he had kind of a swagger confidence to him. And so it's not that he can't do it. You know, it's him having the confidence to go out there and do it. You saw he kicked a great field goal early in the game. We put him in even after made the switch in PATs. He goes out and kicks off. They kind of had the funky one where I think we were still in a TV timeout, but the official handed the ball and said, okay, and he missed one. but he was telling me as he was running the ball, the official's like, whoa, stop. And so I'm like, what happened? And he's like, he was yelling at me to stop right. I'm about to kick the ball. But he came back at a second kick and kicks it right out of the back of the end zone. So we're going to continue to work on him. I mean, that's not permanent, obviously. And I was excited. You know, Jace, we had the opportunity to come in and took advantage of it. And, you know, so we'll see how those guys keep going at practice this week.
So you guys expect to go back today on those PATs?
We'll see. I'm going to see a practice this week. You know what I mean? It's I don't know in a game anybody's done enough to just say they're the guy. You know what I mean? So we got to just see how practice goes and then how that translates into Saturday. You know, they're both – you're talking about all – a true freshman, a redshirt freshman, you know, and then, I mean, we could go to Lawless coming in, but who's, you know, I mean, be a first-year player, just got here. as another guy, he's done really good in practice. You know, there's possibility of redshirting him because he hasn't played yet, and so you know, all of that's still on the table.
When Nick drops back to pass, do you think his receivers are getting enough separation?
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. You know, they run a really good route. They do. If they don't run a good route, they don't sometimes. But yeah, there's guys. It's all depend. You know, I mean, to me, it is a lot of it comes. You know, what I've seen with him is that slight. You know, the slight heels. I don't see him making a lot of. The interception was a bad throw. I don't see a lot of bad throws out of him. I see, you know, we're just slightly off here. You know, I mean, you know, you can tough ball to catch, take a little bit off that throw. Just little things that'll help improve his completion percentage. And you saw that, I think, after the first quarter of the game the other night. You know, he kind of settled in and started making more plays. So, you know, I think a lot of that's just on him, making sure he's making all the right decisions.
You mentioned LSU's shown a lot of motions and shifts and things like that in their first couple of games. How do you react to that defensively, especially since they seem to have gotten good at snapping the ball pretty quickly once they make that shift?
Well, I mean, that's part of their offense, you know what I mean, of what they do. So you just, you know, I mean, we got to practice it this week. You know, a very different offense. It'd be the third completely different offense we've seen in 3 weeks. You know, to go from the wishbone to a team we had to prepare for possible, like, real up-tempo offense. I think how the game went, we were able to control the tempo of the game Saturday night, not let, you know, Louisiana Tech get into their super fast tempo offense. You know, so, you know, this week we got a week to practice it, you know, of adjusting and getting lined up to all the shifts and motions and trades that they do, and being ready to go when the ball was snapped.
Coach, Ed's been a head coach in this league before, and now he's back home at LSU. Just what do you see out of Ed and his coaching style? Has he matured during his journey, or what do you see in him?
I don't know. Mature is a different word, you know. I don't. Depends, you know. I mean, we're all mature and immature. I guess it depends when you come see me. You come out of my boat with me in the summertime, I might think, boy, he's hasn't matured much as a coach right there. He's out there surfing, having a good time. No, I think you know, Fred. I think Ed is. Has had the opportunity to be a head coach. When you know, he had the opportunity to be a head coach. I'm sure he learned a lot from it. Didn't get the opportunity to do. I've been very fortunate here. I've made a lot of mistakes as a head coach, and I've been able to remain being a head coach to learn from a lot of those mistakes. You know, not everybody in today's world gets that opportunity. And, you know, so you're hoping you get a second chance, which he did. And he did. You see what he did at USC when he got that second opportunity to be a head coach and what he's learned to do and, you know, and how to handle a program. And so, you know, I know he's a great motivator, you know, like Ed a lot. You can tell. Even when he was, even as an assistant, a lot of times, you know, whether, you know, being a defensive line coach, but he was, you know, a lot of times he's defensive line assistant head coach because of his personality, style, motivation, relationship with the players. He's that type of guy. I think guys want to be around. They enjoy playing for. And, you know, and that's what has made him successful as a head coach at both stops, and you know, or now his third stop being here at LSU, really as head coach. And I'm sure he's learned and grown from some of the mistakes he's made to really focus on, you know, the qualities he has that makes him a good head coach, which is guys loving to play for him, motivating, you know, and that part of it, and then fix the other issues.
When you get to the SEC opener every year, do you expect a different intensity or focus in practice, or does it just happen naturally and organically?
Oh, it happens. You know, I mean, everything's different. You know, I mean, to our guys, I mean, if they need me to motivate them, they got problems. You know what I mean? They're messed up if they need me to motivate them for a game like this. You know, I mean, they don't need a big rallying cry this week, or, you know, let's try to push a button here or there. This is the SEC or home opener, our home SEC opener against a top 10 team, or wherever they're ranked. I think they're a top 10 team, but you watch them play. But it's our guys will be they know it's different, and you just can feel the intensity picks up a little bit different. Everybody, you know. I did. Went for my run this morning. I ran faster this morning than I normally do. You know, there's just something a little different about it.
Coach, what kind of difference did Jonathan Abram make in the game defensively?
Well, I think a lot was good, and you know, one of the reasons he really in talking in a decision of he didn't play a whole lot, not being probably, you know, he was cleared to play. Played about 3 or 4 plays the first game, coming off being a little banged up. Was, you know, we were going to have to play a lot of nickel and dime and play with more DBs. And so, you know, making sure he was healthy and ready to go in game 2 was really important. And it was, you know, we were able to create advantageous matchups for us out there on the field, you know, with keeping certain athletes out there and more DBs out there, and that certainly helped.
In those dime looks, it looked like Mark McLaurin was particularly up in the box a lot, providing a physical presence. Him and Abram too. Do they kind of combine for that physical presence in that dime look?
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to just schematically with that, because they're kind of with what we're doing. They're essentially playing linebacker, you know, against the run. So their run fits, you know, are a little bit different than where they normally are at safety and how they're filling the plays.
Do you think this team is more equipped for RPO stuff than last year's group as far as personnel goes offensively?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think they're a little bit more mature group this year, the players. You know what I mean? And you look at the back end, a little bit more maturity. A guy like a Jonathan Abram that actually brings a lot of good leadership. But, you know, Mark McLaurin and Brandon Brown are a year older. Our corners, you know, now Talando Cleveland's back. That, again, adds more maturity and leadership to them. You know, and I think you know, Todd's done a good job of getting them in the right position of where they need to be, so I think that helps. Oh, offensively? Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe we're coaching it better. And I think, if anything, the quarterback position, having a little bit more experience helps you see things. You know, the quarterback position is a lot about processing of information. How fast, you know, and when I say that, it's, you know, people get caught up as, boy, is he an intelligent quarterback? How smart is he as a quarterback? That's not as important. You know, being smart, it helps. It's good. It means, you know, I can do a lot more. But to me, it's about the processing of information. How fast information goes from your eyes to your brain, and then from your brain to your legs or your arms, whatever one we're going to ask you to do. The faster, when you're RPOing, I mean, you're making really fast decisions. I'm asking you, ball snapped in about 1.2 seconds to make a decision between one of 3 things and a reaction off the reaction of what the defense does. And that takes practice, and that takes experience, and that takes time, because there's some that are easy, and then there's some that are harder. But, you know, the problem is when you're not a veteran guy, the easy ones are hard. And the hard ones are really hard. And when you have that experience, I think it helps an awful lot more of your decision-making. Because the biggest key to me and the biggest question in quarterbacks and decision-making is why. You know, if you ever ask a quarterback, I want to know what's going on, say, well, why'd you do that? And if they say, well, what should I have done? It's really simple. I'm standing on the sideline. Well, they got headphones on. No one's coming to hit me. You know, if they do, I jump out of the way. I'm not looking for a lot of violent contact usually. You know, I'll get fired up sometimes, but, you know, I get in trouble if I go out there and try to whack anybody. And I'd probably embarrass myself being a little older. You know, the why, because they're the one that have to make the decision. I want to know what they see and why they did what they did, and are they reading things the right way? And when they do, they start making better decisions, and that's going to make you more efficient, especially offense, especially with RPOs, which are all decision-making, processing of information plays.
I don't know if you saw it earlier today. LSU said Arden Key is cleared to play, and this game hadn't played. What did you remember of him, and what's the plan for slowing him down?
I mean, you know, for us, I mean, coming into the game, I've assumed he'd play in our game the whole time. You know, it kind of just seemed like it was he was setting up to come play in our game through their first couple games where they were resting him for our game. So he's probably one of the most dominant players in the league. You know, I mean, it's just a mismatch. Is you know, has the size, speed, physicality to be a real strong run stopper, but is is just extremely disruptive as a pass rusher, and can change a game. And he's a guy that when you scheme up plays, you got to really pay attention to, because you can scheme up, okay, we're going to block this, you're going to block this guy, you're going to block this guy, and that might not work with him because he can just defeat that block on his own. He can make things happen all by himself.